What's up, fellow podcaster? In today's podcast interview breakdown, I'll be reacting to Andrew Tate on the BFF Podcast. Here we go.
We got a guest here, Andrew Tate. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. So we were, while you were in the waiting room, we went around the horn. So Josh is the one who's like, yep, we got to get this guy on the show. Going to be a huge episode. Up top, Bree and O'Malley were like, we researched them yesterday. And everybody's a buzz, watched all your clips, and I'm just a little bit confused. So we got
right off the bat, you can already tell the tone. Like, Andrew is super viral. If you're just watching this now, he just got basically banned from the internet. So he is trending again. But it's just interesting because Dave is just chilling. The other kid is like all smiles. Andrew's super smiles. And if you know anything about Andrew Tate, girls are not the huge fan of him, and you could tell they are just, you can read the body language right now. It is hilarious.
But people coming at it from three different angles. So you do a million different things, reading the prep sheet. Kickboxer, Mensa, you run an OnlyFans, like managing girls, right?
I do. Yeah, you're right. I do a million different things. It's eclectic. I understand that if you look from the outside and it's the first time trying to understand how it all works, I get it. It's a bit confusing.
So then that's probably a perfect segue. If you were introducing yourself, how would you describe yourself? Like, what do you do? Who are you?
Yeah, elevator pitch.
Yes.
Elevator pitch?
Yeah.
Andrew Tate, 4-time kickboxing world champion. And I've conquered the internet. I decided to conquer it and I took it and it's all mine. So that's basically what happened.
That's pretty.
So right off the bat, that's the thing with a lot of these celebrity podcasters. Like Dave Portnoy is known for building up Barstool Sports, his pizza reviews and things like that. He's not a traditional media person, or he's not a broadcaster, and it kind of goes hand in hand with podcasting. But I feel like the intro could have been a lot better. Like, he's reading a prep sheet, and people with, I don't know. I guess I love the art of interviewing. So I wouldn't have had producers create a prep sheet for me. I would have had a specific intro for this guy because his time is valuable. Your time is valuable. And a good intro sets the tone for the entire interview, no matter who you're interviewing or who the interviewer is. You want to show that, or I show my guest as much respect as possible, because they're probably asked the same 10 questions over and over and over. That's just a way to be unique, set the tone for the entire interview right in the intro. The intro is super important.
Pretty vague.
Wow.
I in my headline on Instagram, I say I invented the internet. You're saying you conquered it.
If you invented it, I apologize because I didn't mean to take it from you. I'm sorry about that.
No, that's fine. So, like, what's your biggest platform? I just looked at TikTok. You haven't conquered there yet.
Haven't I?
How many followers you got?
I don't have an account.
It's a fake account that I'm looking at?
I don't have an account.
That's what I was telling you, Dave. That's what I was telling you. You have people make the accounts for you, essentially, right?
There are thousands.
See, this is what kills me too, is like Dave Portnoy has no clue at the time of this recording. Obviously, time has gone by, but he has no clue who Andrew Tate is. I mean, you could just see it. He just doesn't understand what he's doing. And Andrew Tate goes on to say his strategy. He has a huge following. I think it was like 3+ million before he got banned. And then he would have people create or take clips from all his content and just spam everywhere. But it was genius because he was everywhere. Everyone saw him. And I'm just shocked that Dave didn't see him. But this goes along with prepping. Like, he didn't prep at all. Like, you could tell, I guarantee you, he just rolled up, put his shirt on, threw some water in his hair, and was like, here's the prep sheet. You got to be a little prepared.
Thousands and thousands of new videos of me on TikTok per day, and I don't have a TikTok account.
Okay, so if you're sitting on a plane filming presumably yourself, how does that go from that phone to TikTok?
I'll put it on Twitter or I'll put it on an Instagram story, and then people will grasp it and they'll grab hold of it, and then they will digest it and edit it up and put their own spin on it, and then it will end up out there in the metaverse.
Gotcha. All right. So that makes sense. So you have the only social media then that you don't have is TikTok.
I don't have TikTok. I don't know. There's a bunch of new ones all the young kids are into. I don't know. I don't have a lot of things. I'm an Instagram guy. I have Instagram, and that's about it.
Okay. So Emery Andrew Tate the third, Cobra Tate.
That's it. At Cobra Tate. Correct.
Okay. So you haven't conquered it totally if we're at 2 million followers on Instagram.
You're right. My elevator pitch was a bit weak. I could do better. You want me to do it again?
No, I was just curious. There's so many different things. I'm trying to figure out or maybe they're all equal. What exactly? Josh, we've been doing this, a year and a half, 2 years, this podcast?
I would say it's coming up on 2 years now.
So I think on one hand, probably less, we can count guests where Josh is like, we got to get this person. You're on that short list.
Yeah.
So then, Josh, why don't you give his elevator pitch on why we needed him on?
Yeah. Why do you want him on so bad?
I mean, because he says things like I fucking conquered the internet, and I think that he really does have a grasp on TikTok and on a lot of these young people coming up wanting to be hustlers and wanting to be entrepreneurs. Andrew, you have the most cult following I've seen been made so quickly. I haven't seen something like that done on TikTok ever before.
That's true. I certainly have a.
And the question is, there's two questions. I always talk about the power of why. Why did you do it, and how did you do it? Where did you come up with this marketing strategy? Was it you personally, or was it you and a team of people who worked this out? Because like he said, he just got that following so fast. So it's how did you do it? As you'll hear me say this a lot, it's the power of why and the process. I'm obsessed with the process and how we did it. In detail, that could spawn a whole different conversation just on marketing alone. And it's interesting because Dave has a huge cult following too. So they would have been kind of hand in hand ish. You would, I just wish they had done a little bit more research, but I digress.
A cult following.
So when did you start the internet?
I've actually been around for a while, but I put together a particular strategy about 6 months ago because I decided to step up my overall exposure because of a new product I launched. I run an online school that teaches people how to make money online. And I changed my approach towards social media, and I ended up absolutely everywhere. And now people complain that they see me more than they see their own father, and they can't get rid of me.
So is that it? Is what you just said, is that the pitch, the school, which I believe Hustler University, is that what we're talking about?
Correct. That is one of the things I run. Yes, I own a school, an online school that teaches how to make money online.
All right. So then, and you can stop me anytime if you're like, nope, you've gone off the course. The concept is portray a lavish, rich, great lifestyle and then get people to pay to get that same lifestyle? No,
because that makes it sound like I am in some way faking. My lifestyle and the videos I portray are absolutely not really real completely. They existed before the school existed. I don't amp anything up. Nothing is rented. Nothing is a lie. Nothing is a joke. I'm an ultra high net worth individual, and all of that existed pre-school, pre to the school. The school is just after effect to it all. It doesn't exist for the school. I'm certainly not renting cars to try and convince people to sign up to my programs.
No, but I guess what I'm saying is, and I may have connected dots that in your book shouldn't be connected. It sounded like the reason you started showing your lifestyle real is so people would sign up for the school because you're showing them what they want to learn how to do. No?
Yeah, to a degree. I was always showing my lifestyle. I was always doing it, but I changed the way in which I do it. That's the main reason why I have a lot of people who've known me for a very long time. I've been on the internet for a very long time, but now the way that the videos are getting out there and being spread by students of the school themselves, that's why I've got much deeper penetration on social media. That's why people are like, where did this guy come from out of nowhere? But I've been around for a while.
And I think Dave may think that with a lot of these online marketers that he's kind of like a Ty Lopez thing, like driving around in these super fancy cars without doing any research on Andrew myself, hearing his story on the internet. I believe he's involved with, he is like part owner in a casino and he's a manager for girls who run OnlyFans or webcam type businesses. But I think Dave was thinking that this Hustlers University, his university was him, like Ty Lopez, like, oh, you see these girls, you see these cars, you want to be like me. That's the vibe I'm getting. I don't know if that's the vibe you're getting from Dave. So yeah, let me know in the comment section if that's what you got.
Okay, I got it. But how? And 6 months ago is when you started. You've been on the internet, but have you been as flashy on the internet?
I've been flashy, bro. I've just been
the whole time. All right.
Yeah, the whole time. Like I've always been the same guy. Like I think that in the world we live in today, you need to establish credibility, and whether people like it or not, wealth is a way to establish credibility. Like there's a lot of people who dislike me, and that's fine, but it's hard to deny that I am fiscally successful, at least, and that gives you a degree of credibility, which gives you some presence when you speak. It's hard to ignore a guy who you know has hundreds of millions of dollars.
With that, what would you say to be financially? Like I asked
what is fuck you money? What's fuck you money?
I asked Damon John that question. What do you need in the bank to say it's fuck you money?
You need a lot more than money to say fuck you money. That's the whole thing about it, right? Because fuck you money in and of itself isn't a real concept. The whole idea of fuck you money doesn't work if you're still being paid by the Matrix, if you're still stuck inside of a contract and your words are controlled. There's a lot of people with a lot of money who can't say what they think. A lot of people with a lot of money who still have to take the injection they're told to take. A lot of people with a lot of money who can't stand up and say, no, that's wrong, I don't agree with this, because they're going to lose contracts, sponsorships, etc. So to say fuck you money, I mean, you have to have enough money to not ever work again, depending on how you earn money. Because I'm completely and utterly self-sufficient, I can't be canceled. So I think my fuck you money number is actually going to be lower than others because my money will never stop. But I don't know. I mean, it's difficult.
That made no sense.
You don't think so?
Because by definition, fuck you money would be you can say whatever you want, and if you get fired or you have contracts, it doesn't matter because you're sitting on a pile of like.
Well, then it's a very difficult question to answer because it depends on your lifestyle, depends how you like to spend money, blah blah blah. I think
so
once
what's
you
your
have
number?
Once you have 50M, then life's there's nothing else to buy. I mean, what are you gonna buy? Like 50M is plenty of money. You could buy a stupid boat if you really wanted one, but you could also charter one. I mean, besides that, there's literally nothing to buy with that kind of money. I think once you're above 20M, life's around the same, personally. I think that once you get above 20M, you're just doing it for sport. So I think that's around fuck you money. But if I only had 20 million, I'd still be concerned about having an income of some sorts. And if my income was dependent on me agreeing with certain paradigms that the social system, the Matrix, tries to propagate, then it would be different, right? So it depends. It all depends on the individual. That's why I would say fuck you money. It's around 20.
Okay, that's fair.
I will say though, I understood what he said, but the good thing is a lot of people don't. Like Dave didn't understand what he said, but I'm glad Dave was like, okay, I let you say all that, but what's the number? Because that was the question. So that happens a lot in interviews. I call it the LA answer, is when you ask somebody a question and they go off on like a whole different tangent about absolutely nothing. And it's like, well, okay, well, so what is FU money? So for Dave to recognize that and reel it back in, nice move.
So
good number.
The things you're doing now, you've said, what do you put out? What is you said hundreds of millions of dollars you're worth.
Bro, I'm a humble man. You didn't know
never said your net worth.
They didn't put this on the sheet.
What?
They didn't put this on the sheet. I'm super humble.
No, that wasn't on there. It wasn't.
I'm as humble as they come. I'm just a poor guy out here in Romania, just with a whole bunch of cars. But no,
what's your net worth?
Net worth is very difficult to quantify. I don't believe in what net worth quantification. I think it's all bullshit. How do you quantify net worth? Companies you can have a company with an 8 times multiplier by one valuation. Another
liquid. If you had to go liquid tomorrow.
What? If I had to sell everything I own?
If you had to just accumulate as much money as you could tomorrow,
24 hours.
In 24 hours, if I had to get hold of as much cash as possible, so I wouldn't be able to sell into my companies that quickly. I wouldn't be able to sell any property that quickly.
I'll give you a year. I'll even give you a year to say you can sell your companies. But it's like you're getting ready to cash as just, all right, we're playing a game in life, and you're going to come up with some oxymoron. But whoever has the most physical liquid money wins,
Yeah.
you have 1 year to accumulate it. How much do you think you'd be worth?
I think it's difficult. It is difficult because I think my companies are very, very hard to evaluate. The reason I'm giving you this answer and not a very short one is because I think that my companies rely so heavily on my brand that they're very, very difficult to sell. But if I have a company that makes $5 million a month, every single month, pure profit, completely online, then that's a valuable company, right? What's that a year? What's 5 times 12? And then you can put an 8 times multiplier on that easily. So that's a $300-400 million company. But will anyone buy it if I'm not associated to the company? I don't know. It's very difficult. But 300, 350,
Okay.
easily.
So
That's fuck you money.
I mean, it's enough, but having fuck you money is not enough. I have a fuck you. You have to have a fuck you life. You can't just have fuck you money. I'm sitting out here in Romania inside of a house with 20 armed guards outside with a tower and AR-15s, and I've got 10 passports and 55 bank accounts, and that's what you need to have fuck you money. You can't just sit in America with one.
that sounds bad.
You
That
it's
sounds
not
like you're like on the run.
Yeah.
No,
that
but it's
sounds
not
like
being
you're
on
in
the
the
run.
terminal.
It's not about being on the run. To sit in America and have $20 million with one passport, sitting in America thinking you have fuck you money. No, you don't. You say the wrong thing, you piss the government off. They're going to come in your house. They're going to fucking take the house you own. They're going to lock you up. You ain't got fuck you money for nothing. This whole thing's the whole paradigm's a lie. The government's the biggest mafia in the world. If you can't tell them to fuck off, you can't tell anyone to fuck off. So the whole idea of fuck you money, it's all skewed anyway. Like you have to be above the law in many different ways to truly have fuck you money. And you're not going to do that under one jurisdiction.
Do you think that you're able to be above?
Whether you like this dude or not, I don't know if it's his confidence or what, but like, am I the only one who he makes a little sense sometimes, even if you don't like him? I definitely want to know in the comments section. Let me know.
Of the law where you live?
It's not about being above the law. It's about being above the law. But the easiest way to become above the law is to be under lots of different jurisdictions. If you have 10 different passports, it's much harder to constrain you. During COVID, Americans, English people, whatever, were all stuck in their houses because they couldn't fly because of X rule. Well, if you have 10 passports, well, then you're not American on that day. I'd turn up to countries and they say you're not allowed because you're English. And I'd say, okay, well, then I'm Estonian. Estonians aren't allowed. Okay, I'm Romanian. Romanians are allowed in. Same guy, different passport. You have to have multiple passports. You have to be on multiple grids. The idea of living off grid is complete fallacy. You can't do that. You have to be on as many grids as possible. This is what you talk about fuck you money. The people with fuck you money don't even own anything. They own a share of an entity which owns things they can borrow. They have unlimited citizenships and passports. They have money out in the metaverse, in the sky, hidden all around the world. Fuck you money isn't about having money in your bank account in your name. If you still do that, you can't say fuck you to anybody.
I would disagree on some of that. I think there could be another side that would argue the fuck you money is they have so much, but they don't have 20 armed guards and they can do everything you just said because they're viewed not as a threat to the government, or they don't need the passports because they can track. Like
I would ask if you had to start all over again, no casino, no girls, whatever. If you lost it all today and you needed to rebuild for tomorrow, what exactly would you do?
I'm guessing there's plenty of celebrities who are viewed as friendlies and don't have the setup that you have, but can still travel as freely, COVID, not COVID, whatever, which to me would be above the fuck you that you just described, because you can do everything without switching it.
Because, and I am a fan of you, Dave, and I like the things you say, by the way, but just you to understand that the paradigms that we view the world in are completely and utterly different, because you still believe in the idea of a law-abiding citizen. You believe that if you're a law-abiding citizen, the government's never going to come for you and they're never going to hurt you because you stick to the rules. And if you have not learned anything in the last 3 years of COVID, that the rules can be turned and used against you at any moment to lock you in your fucking house without reason, where they can come along and become a communist country at the drop of a hat and literally restrict your very movement, and you to sit there and say that I trust these people absolutely and completely with my freedom and control over my life is asinine. Because
by the way, I don't believe what you just. I don't. A lot of respects, trust the government, all that stuff. Nobody has. I feel like so I don't agree with what you're saying, but I do feel like there's people, not me, in position of power who have manipulated the government for their benefit and
completely
right. So I guess they're just two different things. They're the ones who run the government.
No, but my point is the absolute, when you talk about fuck you money, to me, the idea of fuck you money is they told me to stay in my house because of X. I decided not to. I've gone outside. The police are now here. And I told them, fuck off, fuck you. That's fuck you money. And that takes more than just money. That's my point. My point is that listen, a broke boy can tell anyone to fuck off. Like the average guy can tell the average guy to fuck off all day long. If we're not talking about telling the government to get fucked, then who are we talking about?
Right. But take an example like the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, right? He's rich. He's the governor of California. They had the strictest lockdowns they had. And then he waltzed out to like Napa and had lunch and dinner at a fancy restaurant, no mask. But that's almost a flaunting fuck you. It's like, I'll tell you the rules, but I don't have to play by them.
He shut off my electricity. He shut off my electricity. We threw a party at our house. He turned off our electricity and everything.
That is exactly my point. These are the people who are in charge, and this is my point. So when you said earlier, what's fuck you money? And I said money is the easy part of the equation. My rebuttal to that is that if you only have an American passport and you are governed by people like the man you just described, and the only government which will allow you to reside in that country permanently is the United States. Any other government, any other country is going to tell you, no, you have to go home after X amount of time. You can't tell anybody anything. You are a peon you're a slave inside of the matrix still. People may look at me and say, why does he live in an obscure Eastern European country with his own private army? Why does he need so many citizenships, etc.? Because I can get on my private jet and disappear. And anyone with money who has not put that kind of plan in place, I don't think can really truly tell anyone to fuck off, because they will send someone to your house and they will drag you out in fucking handcuffs.
Right.
That's the end.
I guess the only semantics I'm saying is I think there are people who like almost on top of the government are using that as like their vehicle, and like the ones that you're disappearing from could disappear as well, but they're kind of laughing at everybody else. But some of it, I agree with what you're saying here. Well, I've just tried very, very hard to escape the matrix. I think the whole point of having money is to escape the matrix. There's a lot of people with money whose money still constricts them. It's very easy to get rich if you're going to be constricted by the money. If you try and make money in a way that you're no longer constricted, it's much more difficult. I have friends worth hundreds of millions of dollars, right? But it's all in property in the United States. It's not liquid. It's hard to sell. It's fully, the tax man's all over it. The banks are all over it. They can't just disappear quickly. Like, they're still controlled. They're still constricted. They may be rich, but they're not free. They're not free in any regard. Where'd you make all your money?
Because I'm outside of the matrix, Dave.
Where'd you make,
I'm in Zion. Have you not seen the movie?
Yeah,
I'm in Zion. I come in and out of the matrix on the never.
How'd you make your first million?
I had a company that had webcam girls talking to guys online.
All boils down to selling sex one way or
Yep,
the other. There you go.
Sex sells.
There you go. All right. I'm sorry, Brie. I cut you off. Did you have a question?
Are you like a paranoid guy? Do you think that there are people after you? Like, why do you need to? Are you ever going to have to need to escape?
It's not about being paranoid, because firstly, everyone calls you paranoid until the day you're prepared. That's the first thing. The second thing is that nobody is after me, and I'm a law-abiding citizen, and I can fly to America right now and stay there forever if I so choose. It's just, I don't see why people are so comfortable to live with absolutely zero contingencies. It's ostrich, it's head in the sand. It'll be fine. And I think the last few years in Western countries, America wasn't even the worst. You look at Canada, Australia, New Zealand, etc. If they've not woken you up to the tyranny which can be enforced upon you at random for basically no reason, and you don't think you need to do anything at all to prepare for a repeat of that, to me, that is ignorant.
That would be a good question for those girls, because anything this guy says with confidence, I can just see, they are scathing at him. And if maybe I'm wrong, I just can tell. But she's like, who are you hiding from? Like, look, so are you just, my question to her would be like, so what did you think of what he just said? And then I would ask why. And then I would ask, do you feel 100% safe? Like, you don't think the government would ever come for you, especially in these times right now? No. Do you think that's just a whole like fear mongering tactic? And if you do, why do you think that? And what makes you like so comfortable to say something like that, or to think something like that out of sheer curiosity? Because obviously both Andrew and her are on complete opposite ends of the spectrum. So you want to get both sides of exactly how and why people think things.
Very simple. I think that if you think they've done this shit once and they're not going to come up with some new excuse to do it again, you are ignorant. They're going to do it again. and they're intent on enslaving mankind one way or another. And I, throughout the entire pandemic, lived a life of absolute freedom. I went anywhere I wanted, to any country I wanted, anytime I wanted, without wearing a mask, without injections, purely because I had so many citizenships. No one could tie me down. There was always a hole. There was always a way in. You add in some private jets and you're done. And I don't see why people don't want to live that way. Why do you want to sit and go, well, I have one blue passport, and if Uncle Sam decides I'm a shit muncher and I have to stay home, that's fine. Like, where's your sovereignty? Why don't you stand up and go, no, I'm an individual and I don't want to listen to this shit. I don't call that paranoid. I call that being prepared.
All right. This entire Matrix, was the Matrix like an eye-opening movie for you or what? Or did you already have this in? Because you have a lot of parallels to the actual movie is what you're kind of describing yourself as, like a Neo type guy. Did you walk into that?
It's got to be your favorite movie.
Morpheus. Did you walk into that movie like, ho hum, here's my popcorn,
Change
I'm a
your
normal
life?
dude, and you came out, you're like, holy fuck, I think this is me. Because you are describing the movie.
Yeah, but I use the Matrix because it's an easy pop culture reference for the normie to understand. But my ideas are not new. Like George Carlin was saying them in the 80s. These are not new ideas. These are not new paradigms. It's not new enslavement. This has been around for a very long time. It's just easy for me to reference that modern pop culture icon, right? It's a modern pop culture cinematic film that people understand. I don't want to sit here and sound like I'm some kind of guy who's on the run from the cops, because I'm not. If I was on the run, I wouldn't be doing podcasts. I just think that the true wealth, to go back to the original question, as a professional, I'm answering the original question. The question was fuck you money. Well, if you're going to talk about fuck you money, then fuck you money to me sounds like freedom. And freedom requires you to be beyond the jurisdiction of a single government. That's my answer. My answer is fuck you money is not just money. You need a bunch more. You give an American citizen with an American passport $100 million and watch him piss off the government, and let's see how free he is. He will be in a fucking cell. He ain't shit.
There's part of that.
So the fact that he asked that, like, I get what Andrew was saying about living in the Matrix. He just explained it's just an easy way to compare people. But the fact that they're still on this FU money thing is a little crazy. And like, if I were Dave, if I were the girls, if I were the other guy on this BFF podcast, have questions ready. Cause right now what's happening is you are taking one thing and it's just, you're just so focused on this FU money thing. We've been on this for at least 20 to 30 minutes. Like, ask some other stuff like, okay, well, how do you get FU money? Would you start learning stocks? Would you start learning how to buy and sell businesses? Would you do venture capital work? Like, what, he was like, what, how did you make your first million? It's like, no, how do people that follow you make their first million? And I'm actually, Dave, if I'm not mistaken, sold Barstool Sports, or is part of Barstool Sports, for like $300+ million. So it would have been really cool to maybe even moderate between those two and just see how long it took and how exactly they did it. And did they know what they were doing when they were getting, or was it just kind of like going with the flow? All of a sudden now you're selling your businesses. But the fact that we're still stuck on FU money for 20, 30 minutes is a problem.
That's true. The only thing I've disagreed with it is I think there's people within government, top of government, who pull the strings and have both. They can do whatever they want, but they're not sitting with 20 armed guards either.
What is freedom to you, Dave?
Freedom to me is like being able to do whatever you want.
Do you think you can do whatever you want in America?
No.
Do you think, I live in Romania, right? Romania is not a free country, technically. Do you think I could get away with doing more here than I could do in America? If I were to drive I have a Bugatti Chiron. If I were to get my Chiron and drive at 200 miles an hour down the high street in the middle of the city, do you think I get in more trouble here or more trouble in America?
Probably in America, but it does depend who you are. There's plenty of people who have gotten away with things in America. It's like, how the fuck did they get away with that?
Correct. So this is the exact point. Every single system, all of them are corrupt. The judicial system's corrupt. The medical system is corrupt. The financial system's corrupt. It's all corrupt. It's all a matter of who you are. Now in America, the game is limited to ultra billionaires who control the government, as you've said. In other countries, Anyone with money and some basic social skills and some nice friends can play the game. If we're going to accept that every single system on the planet is corrupt, why would you live in a place where you cannot access the corruption? Does that make sense logically? Or would you rather live in a system where you can say, you know what? I am important enough within said society that if the police stop me, I can give them $10 and they'll fuck off. Why would you allow yourself to live in a society where you know others get to be corrupt and you can't? Why would you do that?
Yeah, you're just saying. I mean, you're basically saying you're like country agnostic is essentially what he's saying.
Correct. Because countries aren't real. Countries aren't even real anymore. The whole idea of a nation state has fallen. The whole idea of being American is a false paradigm. The whole idea of being Canadian is false. It's fake.
Do you like having going to sleep knowing there's 20 armed guards? Like that's the part I
sleep better.
Yeah. All right. So it's a big thing. All right. You're also known.
I would like to know, for the people watching this, do you agree or disagree with what he just said? Part of why I do these is first of all, I usually mention this in the very beginning, but I do these for educational purposes only. And part of my deeper purpose is to take people like this who are on completely opposite sides of the spectrum and coming in as one. So I'd be curious to the people who disagree with what he just said about the billionaires running the government and us not being free, if you agree or disagree with what he just said.
You said it appears wildly sexist stuff. Are you anti-woman?
I love women.
And now,
in fact, interesting statistic.
And that's the
100%.
thing. So, and right here, they just went from whole conversation about freedom, and now they're jumping in to sex. Like there was no segue. There was no there's ways to lead the conversation and to bring certain subjects up to transition smoothly into what he just asked him. You want to kind of take your audience on like a roller coaster of up and down. We just spent 30 minutes talking about FU money and freedom. And now it's just like, boom, sex. It's just, or it's not structured. They're just not as prepared. And yeah, I just wish they were just a little bit more prepared.
People have ever had sex with women. So I love women. I have nothing against women at all. I'm not sexist in any regard. I'm not misogynist either. I'm a realist. Like I'm a realistic person. As a realist in the modern world, they're going to call you sexist, misogynist, etc. But I'm none of those things. I am just.
Why do they call you that? Why do they call you that?
Because I say.
What do you think it is that you say that makes people think you're like sexist?
Because I say the truth.
Which is?
Women can't fight. Men are stronger. Like based more true things. I think another thing I said is and maybe I'll upset the ladies on the podcast. I hope not, but please correct me if I'm wrong.
Probably will.
I said if I were to get on a plane and that plane was to fly into the eye of a hurricane, there was a 50% chance of it crashing, I'd want a male pilot because I think that males are better under stress and under pressure. I think they're less likely to get emotional in a life or death situation. That's why they make better soldiers. That doesn't mean that doesn't make me a misogynist. That doesn't make me sexist. That's just true. Women are better at other things than men. And I'll sit here and say women are better at X, but I will say that men are better at Y. I'm not going to sit and pretend that we're all the same. We're not. Under pressure, when your life is on the line, anyone who's honest would want a male pilot in said situation. You would not want a female pilot.
So I disagree with that. I think that's a person by person, but I agree with men are stronger than women. I don't think anyone can argue that.
If you're telling me if you were to fly into a hurricane and you had the choice between a male pilot and a female pilot, you wouldn't have zero preference at all, Dave.
Not knowing anything about either of them, they're both pro pilots. No, I wouldn't. We're not talking about dunking a basketball.
Well, I would choose a man because I know from my own personal experiences that when shit hits the fan and emotions are high and it's life or death, that the man is more likely to remain calm. And calm is what's going to keep me alive. So I would choose the man. For the same reason, I would choose women to do other things. Let me give you another example then, Dave. If gender roles aren't real and you're now...
No, I think there are gender roles are real. That particular example, though, I'm sure you can have great female pilots.
I never said you couldn't. I said I'd choose a man.
I think Dave is just, maybe I'm wrong, but just the way he's doing this interview. I think he's worried about offending his employees / co-hosts, or worried about being canceled. If he was like, oh yeah, I agree, I want a man to fly. I was like, that's a tough one. I'd be curious to what you thought in the comments section. If you like, the question was, if you were flying into a hurricane, do you want a male or female pilot? And I will leave it up to the viewer, to the podcaster.
In that particular
That's
situation,
fair. I don't think that's like, I don't know about Brie and O'Malley. Like, that doesn't make
Brie
like,
O'Malley. Do you think that's like? Do you call that like super sexist, or where you guys?
Well, I think it's like what Dave said too. I think it depends on the person. Like, there could be a way more emotional pilot that's a male, and then a female one that could be more emotionally stronger.
But regardless,
Correct.
they go through the
He's
same
saying-
training.
Yeah, I think he's saying you don't know anything about the pilot. You just can pick blind.
Yeah,
You're
well,
gonna either
obviously,
have a
I
male or female.
disagree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a generalization because exceptions don't disprove the rule. You're
But
right.
I don't think that makes you like Satan for saying that.
No,
I'm
but
sure
I
there's a
think
lot of
like you
people who
say a
feel
lot of
that.
stuff about women, like that they're your property.
That's not what I said. I was talking about an OnlyFans company when that question was asked. But I said that if a woman is going out with a man, she belongs to that man. That's his woman. So if she wants to do OnlyFans, she owes him some money because she's his. Yes, that's
You,
what I
you
said.
think
Well,
if
that's crazy.
you think if a
That
man,
was crazy.
so you think that a man going out with a girl that's just your property? There
not about
can't
her
be an
being-
equal relationship.
That one was nuts.
Okay,
that one
cool.
was nuts.
I'm
This
not
is where
now.
it goes
Good.
crazy.
Cool.
No,
So
but
I'm-
no, that one you can. If I understood what you said, that if a guy and a girl is dating and a girl does OnlyFans, she owes him a cut.
No, 100%,
She's his girl.
100%.
She is his girl
But what does that have to do with anything?
because she.
So if the girl is doing, we'll just say, God knows what, while this, who knows what's going to happen with this video. Anyway, if you are running a company for webcam girls, or you're a manager of these OnlyFans girls, or what he was just saying, that your girl, if she is making an OnlyFans, you should get a cut. Would that make you a pimp? Huh.
She's his.
Yeah, so that's what.
So that is you saying that women are
crazy.
your property.
It's not about being property. It's about the fact that she belongs to him and the intimate parts of her body belong to him because they're in a relationship. And if she wants to sell those, he has a stake in those intimate parts of her body.
So it's reverse. Male porn star owes the woman.
I don't know because I think the women belong to the man. I think the woman's
Yeah,
given over
that's
to the man.
inherently where you get called sexist.
No, it's not. Well, you can call me sexist if you want, but if you look at marriage, it's the bride's father who gives her away. It's not the groom's father.
In
Is
old
it?
tradition.
I gotta guess.
The woman belongs
as
to the
some-
man.
So
I
it's
gotta
slavery.
guess as- yeah, no, but I gotta guess as somebody who's multicultural and everything, that certainly is a tradition that does not apply everywhere.
The woman is always given over to the man. Read the Bible, read the Quran, you can go to
You're walking down the aisle, no chance. There's like African cultures where they don't do that.
I'm sure there are some obscure tribes somewhere. I mean, I can't say I'm not a professional.
But you get it. You seem like a very
you
smart
gotta
guy.
understand
You
why
seem like
people
a
would
smart
say
guy.
that.
You're saying a woman is the property of a man if they're dating.
I'm not saying they're appropriate. I'm saying they're given to the man and they belong to the man. It doesn't mean they're a pure property without emotion. It means they're given to the man. They take the man's name.
You said
They
it's
belong
her
to the
parts.
man.
You said it's the guy's parts. You're like, if she's on OnlyFans, the guy owns those parts, so he gets a cut.
Well, those parts are intimate, right? That's the whole point of her being his.
Yeah, but you didn't do reverse. When I said if a male porn star
Correct.
does it, he doesn't owe the girl a cut.
Correct, because he doesn't belong to her. She still belongs to him.
Correct. So that's the sexist part.
But and you've also
Well,
said that you could
realistic.
you've also said that you could have multiple partners, but a female that was with you couldn't also have multiple partners.
Well, a woman could say that same thing if she decided. She could say, I can sleep with multiple men, but my men can't sleep with multiple women if she so choose. We're all free individuals, right?
Yeah, but you
woman
don't
could
you
say
wouldn't agree if a woman said that.
I don't think I would personally find that revolting, correct? But there are women who find what I say revolting.
So you're not telling other people what to think. You're just saying how you think.
Yeah, I mean, if I think that I think if a man is not sexually exclusive, it's not the same as if a woman is, because with a woman you have the paternity issue. With a man, you don't have the paternity issue. If I have 3 girlfriends and they all get pregnant, we know who the mother and who the father is. If you have 1 woman and 3 men, you don't know who even the parents are if she got pregnant. So it's a whole big issue, right? Science can step in and kind of
Yeah.
fix
You
it.
can definitely
But it's a
figure
good
it out.
discussion.
DNA tests are pretty accessible nowadays.
Of course, yeah, that's exactly it. So I said science can step in and fix it, but that doesn't mean it's not haram and against the will of God. Look, read the Bible. Every single man had multiple wives. Not a single woman had multiple husbands. It's against the will of God. It's disgusting. In the eyes of God himself.
That would assume that if you're going in this multi-universe where everybody's reading the Bible, which is there's different religions all across the globe, reading different things, believe in different things. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what my point is, if we talk about tradition, I'm not even talking about myself here. This is not about my personal life. We're talking traditional. Traditionally, every single man in history had multiple wives, and there was not a single woman who was celebrated for having multiple husbands. Female promiscuity has always been disgusting and frowned upon. In every single book ever written, ever, in all of history, in all cultures ever, women were supposed to be virgins. Women sleeping with lots and lots and lots of men has never been celebrated, ever. Besides, in the last 40 years in the West, in a degrading society. Well, yeah, okay, cool. But if you're going to look at it traditionally, women were not supposed to act that way. And I don't think women want to act that way anyway. I don't think women intrinsically want to fuck a bunch of people.
I don't think you know what women want.
Well, the women I know don't want to. When I meet a woman, she doesn't say, I can't wait to get out there and sleep with a bunch of dudes. Maybe there are some. I don't know.
Oh, there's definitely like cleat chasers who fucking love that.
Oh yeah, there's got to be some girls out there that are
lots,
like all about it.
Girls like sex as much as guys. There's no doubt about that.
Come on, they watch porn. Guys watch porn. Everyone's horny.
Wood is our men's grooming line product, offering products across hair, body, beard, shave. They work great. They smell great. Our facial, all which is a big thing. .com, where the sexist label comes from, but the class. I think that's the hardest thing. Like, I've been successful. I think it's very hard to teach or give tricks to somebody to make them successful. So like without giving away your whole school, for people listening, it's like, I want to be rich, like Andrew Tate, and have 19 different girlfriends. And if they go on only.
This podcast has definitely been edited because they were about to go on a whole different tangent. And it was the one time in the podcast where everybody was kind of like getting together. They don't really have a moderator. So, but they're all just kind of, they don't know when to talk in turn. And this is also a problem when everybody is remote. You can't read the other person. No one wants to cut off Dave. No one wants to cut off the other guy. No one wants to cut off the girls. So that is the small problem you do run into with remote interviews. But this whole thing has been chopped to bits. I mean, they did a whole 30-minute thing on FU Money and Freedom, and then they were talking about him being sexist and misogynistic and women being property and yada yada yada. And now there's like there was a small commercial break, and now we're here.
OnlyFans, I get a cut and all that. Like, where do you even start with these people?
Yeah, we have 18 modern wealth creation methods, and I'll have to let people enroll in the school. It's extremely cheap. It's $49, and you can enroll and follow the systems. There's a quiz at the beginning that asks if you're time poor, if you're cash poor, because it's different. It's easy to make money if you have money, but a lot of people think that, they can turn 10 grand into money. That's not money. So it depends if you have money to start, depends if you have time, depends on your expertise. So there's a bunch of questions. We narrow it down. There's 18 wealth creation methods, and then we recommend a wealth creation method, and there's a professor in there. There's live lessons every single day along with the community. And we have currently 87,000 students. What's impressive about that is not the fact that I've managed to attribute 87,000 students. It's the fact that I managed to retain 87,000 students. So there's 87,000 people out in the world making more money than they invest each month.
You've never had a cancellation?
Of course I've had cancellations. Because there's people who are lazy, and there's people who quit. There's people who don't work very hard. But the people who work hard stay. So we have 87,000 people who are retained. I don't know how many we've ever signed up in history, but 87,000 people are making more money than they invest each month. And I think that's pretty successful overall for a university.
Very good. I mean, that was a little bit weird with words.
I would ask him, they're like right now it's popular. A lot of people on TikTok are saying that he's scamming people and just doing a pyramid scheme with affiliate marketing. And it's like, I'm not enrolled, so I don't know exactly what it is. But to be clear, because I've seen this numerous times and numerous accusations about affiliate marketing being a pyramid scheme. Like so right now I'm testing out a new software called StreamYard because I wanted to cut down editing, and I'm trying out this new software, and I think it could work really well. And the first thing I do with companies like this is ask if they have an affiliate program, because if you do like it and you do promote it, people who watch this may sign up for StreamYard. By the way, click the link for StreamYard in the description. That's not pyramid scheme. Affiliate marketing is not a pyramid scheme. It's a way to make true passive income, especially on YouTube, because no matter what, these videos, I have another video about Andrew Tate that's just running in the background. And had I had affiliate links to things in the product in the description, people could click on those at all hours of the day and night. It's running 24/7. So affiliate marketing is true passive income. And that's one thing he does.
The way you said it, if you rewind it, where you're like, we have 87,000 signups, retained 87,000. I'm like, nobody's getting. It's like, well, I don't know how many we saw. That was a little wordplay there.
Okay, yeah. Well, I don't know the total signups. Maybe in total 150,000 people signed up, but we currently, as it stands right this moment, have 80,000 people paying a
current subscription. It's a monthly $50 a month.
Correct.
It's quite a business.
Can women sign up?
Absolutely. Of course they can. I don't know where getting this impression I hate women. I mean, we can purport that.
Real quick, she asked, that is actually a great question by her. Can women sign up was her question. I would be curious to know how many women have signed up, and would they be willing to test it out for 3 months? Maybe even, because 1 month, I mean, yeah, I guess you could, but for them, for the two ladies, would they sign up for 3 months, pick one of his program, like one of his money-making ideas, and do it just to see if it did work? Because 5 times 3 is what? 15. So $150. So you've got 3 months to make just to make whatever you have to make at least $150 or $300. Let's just call it 300. So it's a wash and you make $150. That would be a really cool experiment. And I think the other kid, I think his name's Josh. And I mean, Dave wouldn't do it just because he has hundreds of millions of dollars. So I get that as well. Because it would be funny to see Dave do one of the methods he recommends.
We can attempt to label me with that all we want. I'm happy to discuss that. I absolutely not really love women. I have nothing against women. I believe women are the most precious things on the planet. They create life. They should be protected. They should be provided for. I would never let a woman pay for a bill. I would never let a woman, if someone touched any of my women, I would stand up against 10 men by myself and risk my life to protect her. I believe that women are beautiful creatures. I just don't think that they're as emotionally calm as men in stressful situations. I don't think they can fight like a man can. And for the same reason, I would never drop my children in an all-male nursery. I think that's strange and weird. I would only drop them in an all-female nursery. Women do certain things and men do certain things. And we live in a world now where the whole idea of the roles has been conflated to the fact where if I come along and say women are better with children and men are better at fighting, that I'm somehow fucking sexist when it's clearly true. There's nothing wrong with stating the facts. It's the truth.
You're mixing them up because I agree with some of what you're saying. Like,
yeah,
again,
but then you throw in the OnlyFans, you need 100%
correct
thing. Like that's
see, and this is where being prepared for this, especially the women, I'm surprised these two are not jumping on this, because you could spend 20 minutes going through all of Andrew Tate's TikToks or just scrolling through YouTube interviews, and you could cite things that he said that you think are misogynistic or sexist. Like if he was on the Fresh and Fit podcast, or just any other podcast that he had done, because he said something really controversial a while back about women having their body count on their head. Like you would need to know exactly what podcast it was, what number it was, and what exactly they said. Because the thing is, if you're going to call somebody out for what they said, you better have a direct quote, and you better double, triple check that that's exactly what they say. Because I think the first human instinct is to be like, that's not what I said. Or that's not what I meant. That's not how I meant to say it. That's out of context. So you got to kind of be prepared for that too, and see and try and think of where they go. But it's like, okay, well, you said this on X amount of on X's podcast. Do you understand how that could come off a certain way? Just saying.
Anybody here is arguing that, like, in a fist fight, a man's going to win.
Okay.
Yeah. What about intelligence? Do you think women are as smart as men?
Well, it's been proven that the smartest people in the world are men.
See, that's
but,
I think
that's been proven.
Some issues.
That's been proven.
See, and that's the thing. If you also to play devil's advocate here, if you're going to make a claim like that, in today's world, everybody is wanting sources. So you would have to go down the rabbit hole. You would have to have some serious, legitimate sources of who, like, proving that men are smarter than women, either that or do your own type of some sort of test or poll where you get like 1,000 men and 1,000 women. But yeah, once again, if you're going to make some claims like this, you definitely need credible sources, and you better be able to list them out. And I know you can't just list them out all. I mean, that's a lot, but I get both sides here.
Been proven.
How? What? Where?
So there's the bell curve, right? So men are more likely to be on the extremes. So the most stupid people on the planet are men, and the most intelligent people on the planet are men. Women are more likely inside of the middle of the deviation. So this has all been proven, right? Men are more likely to extreme. Read the study. It's more likely men are on the extreme.
What study?
Google it.
What are you yelling?
I'm gonna Google it. What am I writing in? What am I writing in for a Google search?
Are men smarter than women?
Okay.
All right, now I got to Google it real quick. I'm just curious to what comes up. Let's see what it says just real quick when I Google. Now I'm curious to what's actually going to come up. Are men smarter than women?
According to Wikipedia, differences in brain physiology between sexes do not necessarily relate to differences in intellect. Although men have larger brains, men and women have equal IQs.
There's one. I mean, you'd have to go down this whole rabbit hole. It's like, and then you're questioning sources, right? The first thing that comes up is science.org. Okay, that sounds good, but who the hell runs that? There's one, verywellmind.com, qz.com, livescience.forbes.com. You got to figure out who is doing these interviews and who's doing these polls and what companies and where they're doing them and how exactly they're doing them. You need proof, like what piece of paper and what questions and what tests are they taking to get that answer. And that's not just with are men smarter than women. That's with anything controversial that's going on in today's world or anything he says, from the freedoms to the women to him borderline being a pimp. I would love to ask him that question just to see what he said. But no matter what, you just have to find out credible sources.
This should be interesting in what comes up. Are men
But I can also give you personal experience if you'd like.
Yeah, let's hear
Knock
it.
your socks off.
Sweet.
Let's talk about the personal experience, right?
Yeah,
So my father was a chess player. My father was one of the best chess players in the world. He was actually the highest ranked black chess player in history at the time. I grew up and I was a chess player from the age of 4 to the age of 13. I was a professional chess player on my route to being a grandmaster. Long story. My parents split up. I lost my coach, blah, blah, blah. So I grew up in the chess world, and the chess world's a really interesting world to grow up in because you're around hyper intelligent people who are socially awkward. A lot of them are like autistic and a bit strange. Some ex-KGB guys, some real weird guys who don't talk, but it's a world of ultra intelligent people. Women cannot compete with men at chess. Now, I'm not calling all women stupid. I'm not saying that there aren't some good female chess players. I'm not saying I could be every woman. No, there are great female chess players, but on average, as a whole, the best chess players in the world are men, not women, because women cannot computate at the level the men do. That is just a statistical fact. There's a
just so you know, in Google, you're going to say it's run by the people, but I Googled are men smarter than women, and literally every single study says there's no difference.
Well, I'll find the study for you. Read a study saying the most stupid people in the world are men, and the most intelligent people in the world are men, because we fall to the outward deviations of the bell curve, whereas women are more likely to be in the medium. So this is not sexist because I'm saying the most stupid.
But I think it's wrong. Like based on everything, I just think it's wrong. Like there's like 20 studies that pop up.
Well, then then search up. If you were to look up the highest IQs in the world, the first 10, first 20, look them up. Are they men or women? I haven't done this. Look it up. But let's talk about my personal experience, right? Let's talk about the chess world. The best female chess player in the world simply cannot compete with the men. I don't know where she is, number 50 or something, like internationally, right? There is no physical advantage. There's no reason why men should win. There's no physical element to chess.
Who do you think plays chess more, men or women overall in the world?
That's a good argument. So the argument is that men play chess more often, so there's more likely to be higher ranking chess.
There's a higher pool to pick from.
There's a larger pool to pick from, of course. But that's all. But this has been very heavily dissected inside the chess world. They found 500 female chess players, 500 women, 500 men, started them at school at the same time, started them in the chess school.
I just highest IQ in the world. Literally what comes up. Marilyn von Savant has one of the world's highest IQs. She is known as the smartest person in the world.
Cool. Then all right, cool. Then I'm totally wrong. I never even said. All I told you is that the most stupid people in the world were men and the most intelligent people in the world were men. I read a study on it 4 or 5 years ago, and I thought, you know what? I know some stupid men. I don't know women that dumb. I agree with that. And I know some really smart men. I don't know women that smart. I agree with that.
I think you're very smart, but for everything you say, there can be argument that an intelligent woman wants nothing to do with you because you think they're stupid. But stupid guys are like, this guy's going to make me a ton of money. So you run into a lot of stupid guys. And the intelligent women are going their own way.
Well, that would be a large generalization, Dave, because you don't know.
That's what we're doing. There's been a lot of those here.
Well, you don't know the women I talk. You don't know the women I talk to. Right?
I don't. I
Correct.
absolutely don't.
Correct. So that's the first thing. Second thing, I'm not saying I'm smarter than every female on the planet. The 2 women who are on this podcast right now could very well be more intelligent than me. I told you about a study that I read, and now I'm telling you about my personal experience. The personal experience is in the chess world, which I grew up in. Women cannot compete with men. It's a purely computational. It's purely brain power, and they simply cannot compete. And there's a whole bunch of examples of this, right? Like I said, we can easily reverse this conversation. I can tell you all the things women are better at before you call me sexist. We can do it the other way around. But if you look at Formula One, there's no physical advantage. Women can't drive like men. Why? Their reactions are slower. It's been proven that females have a slower reaction time than men. Why? Because they evolved. They didn't need it to evolve. They weren't hunting. They weren't fighting.
Again, for race car driving, you could argue the pool of men. I mean, even with car driving, look who's in it. It's Al Unser Jr., Al Unser. Like it's you got to have the money, you got to have the access, and
family's probably been racing.
Correct. So there's a lot of factors. We have a game because we're going around. And by the way, it's fascinating to talk to. But what is?
I will say though, I wasn't a huge fan on how, and this from a professional standpoint of how Dave is handling this, but he's at least. I will say he's at least pushing back. It was never. This almost seems like a debate, and I can understand how that would happen because Andrew is saying so many controversial things. And if somebody really wanted to, they could start their own podcast reacting to Andrew Tate stuff or have a claim each episode. Like if he is saying, you could have a whole episode on are men smarter than women? You could talk to women doctors, men doctors, psychologists, see how many tests have been done. I mean, you could really go down the rabbit hole on, like I said, I think somebody should start their own podcast on Andrew Tate on what he actually says and do the research for the chess, for the racing. Anything NASCAR, because he's saying it very confidently and he's covering his base. He's very well spoken. And once again, props to Dave for pushing back on him a little bit. I guess it just depends what kind of podcast you're doing. Cause I'm more so interested in people's process and how they think and why they are the way they are. I'm not a debater. I'm not trying to debate anybody that just way too much energy. So, yeah.
This game, I can't even imagine the game we built for this guy.
So
it's called What Are Your Thoughts On, right?
Yeah, so we're just going to list people and things they do and then just give us your thoughts on them.
Sure.
Kind of like what we've been doing the whole podcast.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, it's an easy game.
I mean, any way I plop myself down right now, I'm going to be in a position that works. The way that people have the ability to sit in it and to just be human. And
all right, so first one.
This is actually a great idea, is to have games in your podcast, but this goes along with having a structured podcast of what you exactly want to talk about, what you don't want to talk about, the ebbs and flows, the whys, the why nots, to really see where the conversation is going. But I see in a lot of it, when I used to interview celebrities on the red carpet, people would be like, let's do rapid fire questions. And it's just like, it wasn't a smooth transition, or just call it something else. But it's good to do, because this is where you can get like a little creative. So it's not, this podcast isn't really flowing, but having a game like this could be really good for this segment. So let's see what they got.
One, what are your thoughts on The Matrix?
We know that.
Yeah, it was a very interesting movie. And I think that it draws striking similarities between the world we live in today and the world that is portrayed inside of the film. I think there are many people who ignore their own eyes and ignore their own ears to believe what they are told to believe. And that is what I call the Matrix. And I think the last few years has proven that more than anything, when people are running around pretending to be scared of something when they've never seen with their own eyes any single damage from the whole fucking.
I would have been a little bit more specific, because like, what do you think of The Matrix is just like, I don't know, like compare it with somebody. He already, if you were listening, and this is a big thing with podcasting, is listening. So you compared yourself to Morpheus. Why did you compare? A good question would be, why do you compare yourself to Morpheus versus Neo? Were you ever Neo? Is there a specific moment in that movie that relates to you, your life, or your experiences?
Let's not even start, because I know it's a taboo subject online.
Okay. All right. Next one. What are your thoughts on guys who take their shirts off and dance on social media?
That's an interesting one. I think that
interesting.
Yeah,
Hey, that's a good question, because an argument could be made for what people really think about that. And Andrew Tate's more of like a manly man. So yeah, that's a solid question.
Do you do this? Is that why this question is on there?
I can't dance, bro.
Okay.
So I don't.
No,
do
we have
that.
an example kind of like of.
They're just making fun of me, dude.
Yeah, we have an
the sort of-
example.
How do you not know this is about me, dude?
Yeah. So if you were, a good question would be, or a good follow-up, if you were to do a dance on TikTok, what would it be and why? And then if he was still like, I wouldn't, I would just be like, okay, if you had to prepare for a fight, like if you were going into the ring, the octagon, whatever, what would be your walk-on music and why? And you could even be like, what would your is there a TikTok sound or a TikTok song or some song on TikTok that you would play before you went to fight? That would be a good question.
You can be my new child. Your body, baby girl, make you go side to side. Earthquake, whoa.
All right, sorry, Josh, I'm about to rip into you. So
No,
sorry.
it's all good, man. Go for it.
All right,
Go for
no,
it.
nothing personal, right?
No, it's all good.
Cool. I think that I think that men have a very unique life path, and it's very difficult to try and achieve status as a man. It's not easy to stand out from the crowd, because the only way to truly achieve individuality is usually a long, difficult road. It takes a long time to become an important man. And even what women expect of an important man, you need to be smart, charismatic, intelligent, strong, have a nice car, nice apartment, good network, good friends. You need to be able to handle stress. You need to be competent. There's so many things you need to be able to do. It's difficult for a young man to even have all these things. There's the reason women like older men. And people like attention, male and female. And I think we live in a world now with the internet where young men, especially, instead of trying to go the very hard road of becoming a man who naturally garners attention due to his competence, instead think, well, this dance gets views. So if I do this stupid little dance, I'll get views. And it's a cheap substitute for actual quality as a man. That's what I think it all is. And it's attention seeking, and I understand why they do it. But when you grow up as a man and you grow into a man of status and genuine stature, you're uninterested in doing little dances because you are important simply because you exist.
I gotta be honest, as much as some people aren't gonna like, Andrew, that little speech you gave about a man, that's gonna be like, if I was on speed dating, I'd have that speech. Here I am.
And that's the thing. Andrew is very, like, whether you like him or not, is very well spoken. That's the thing. I think he has to be, for the stuff that he says. He better be able to back it up, whether you agree with him or not. But yeah, that was a very good answer.
That is like build a long career, like handle stress, all that. Yeah, perfect. No, that was a good.
That's what being a man is, right? Being a man is about taking the trauma which happens to you and internalizing it and using it in a way to build yourself into a stronger, more powerful man. A man who's never had trauma is not a capable man. If you were to find a woman and give her a man who's never had any trauma in his life, she'd hate him. There's nothing about him which is good. You need a man who's had a whole bunch of trauma and lived through it. And that's why becoming a man is so difficult. That's why becoming a man is so hard. And if you're a top tier male, you get attention by default. But if you've not been through that process, or you don't want to go through that pain, then you resort to other things, and other things include TikTok dances.
Wait, how do you think that you don't go through pain in life still if you do TikTok dances? Though?
Not that you don't go through pain. I'm saying that if you go through enough pain and you internalize it the right way, and you become a high enough status man, that you don't need to be doing TikTok dances to simply get attention. I get attention for talking, right? I don't have to pay anyone to look at them. I just talk. My whole life story enough is attention. I'll get in the ring. I've had 87 professional fights. I'll get in the ring and beat the fuck out of somebody if I want people to look at me. I don't have to do little dances. So
you could argue that Josh has manipulated a tool or a vehicle to get great stuff.
I like Josh.
No, I know, but
I like you.
Thank you, man.
I'm just answering the question.
No. And I agree with Josh. I mean, like, I don't disagree with what you had to say. I think that, like, when you are growing into being a man, it is that trauma that builds you into the man you're going to become, because you're going to be the person that's, like, when you're in a household, I believe a lot of the time, or like how I look at it is, like, even with my friend groups with girls, it's like, I want to be the person that's going to, like, you can cry on my shoulder, you can cry on my shoulder,
Correct.
you can cry on my shoulder.
Correct.
So it's like, I agree with what you said for sure in that like aspect. But I think that I can also use from what I've done from when I was, like, 14 to 18 to 19 to now being 20 to, like, go and push myself into different stratospheres that I would have never been able to touch.
I respect that, because we live in an attention economy, and if you can manage to garner attention, you're going to make a lot of money.
Sorry to cut this off real quick, but since he is a little bit younger, a good question for him, and it's good that he did preface it that he's like, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings, I'm not trying to just be a dick, but he gave his opinion on what he thinks about him and TikTok dances. It's like, okay, whether it's Josh asking or Dave asking or the girls are asking, if I were Josh, I'd be like, okay, so I'm only 20 years old, what can I do to become more of a man in your eyes?
Absolutely not respect that. My point is that this is modern, new world. In my world, when I'm only 35 years old, when I was 17, you didn't go on the internet and do TikTok dances. If you wanted to matter, you needed to have money, you needed to be strong, you needed to be intelligent, you needed to have important friends. You had to become a man. And what I'm saying is that in the world we live in today, the internet has allowed certain people to skip an entire process of manhood. Now you have Twitch streamers who are 19 years old, fat, drinking fucking soya milk, who have millions and millions of people paying attention to them, and they're rich now. So they're statistically successful, but they are not men, and they will never become men, because to be a man, you must suffer. You must suffer and you must survive. And my point is that when these TikTok dances are being done, it's a way to garner attention without having to go through the genuine hardship which is required to garner attention as a genuine male. That's the point.
I think you could also argue that boxing is a dance too.
It's a bit different than a TikTok dance.
But I mean, you are still on display, and correct. But my life is on the line.
Yeah, I was going to say, I usually don't have the threat of my nose being broken when I'm doing a TikTok dance.
Yeah, women are so stupid.
Forget the nose being broken. I've seen 5 people die. I don't want to sit here and brag and talk about the things I've done to people. There are people who will never be the same again after they stepped in the ring with me, ever again. I've seen screaming wives crying over their lifeless husband. I've done things you wouldn't believe. When you step in that ring, it's a different level. It's not a TikTok dance. It's actually extremely disrespectful. I know you didn't mean to disrespect, but it's extremely disrespectful to even insinuate that. It's not a TikTok dance. It's life and death. It's gladiators. It's a completely different realm.
Facts. I mean, I've seen people's lives change after my TikToks. Totally different reason. More like they're just
Mine just changed. Mine just changed, Sean.
But it's like, yeah. But they're not the same.
Yeah, and see, even that's the thing with the controversial people, and it's one of those things where you just have to have a conversation with this guy, whether you agree with him or not. But out of this interview, he has been super respectful. Whether you disagree with him or you agree with him, I think he's been very well spoken. You can even say what he just said to that girl, her whole mood flipped. If you go back, they're smiling now. The whole time through the whole interview, they have been scathing at this guy. And he just basically, I don't want to say put her in her place, but just made her realize what she said was disrespectful in a respectful way. And they're, like I said, they're all smiling now. So it's one of those things where it's just you, whether you like a person or you don't, you just need to have a one-on-one conversation. And that's why I love podcasts. That's why I do these podcast interview breakdowns. I don't get access to Dave Portnoy, to Andrew Tate, to Tom Dell, all these celebrities anymore. I used to be a red carpet reporter for 5 years. And even then I got 3 to 5 minutes. I didn't get these in-depth or these opportunities and get to have in-depth conversations. That's why I do these, because they're for educational purposes only. Dave and Andrew are both on my interview list, even though I'm criticizing Dave and stuff. It's not like I'm not trying, and even if he is watching this or anybody from his team, I'm not trying to be a dick. This is educational, constructive criticism. I would never just go outright and be a dick, because that gets me nowhere. Because when I interview Andrew or when I interview Dave, they pull this up. Somebody goes to him and be like, dude, he did like a reaction video and he's talking shit. It's not what I'm saying. I'm just giving constructive criticism for somebody who has been in broadcasting for 10 years and has interviewed over 5,000 people, from celebrities to average Joes, just wanting to hear the story. That's all I want to do. Is Captain Questions. I would love to be, like I said, I would have loved to do this type of interview. It would have been super prepared, super just like ready to go with quotes and just seeing like play both sides of the fence. Man, it's just, yeah, but this is why I do it. All right, that does it for this podcast interview breakdown. But before you go, if this is your first time on this channel, my goal is to help podcasters like yourself become the authority in their niche with podcast interviews. So if you have a podcast or you're thinking about starting one shortly, this free download is for you. It's a list of my top 25 podcast interview questions that I use to make me sound like a professional, and it gives me the ability to get those golden nugget sound bites so you can double your downloads and turn your listeners into leads. The link for this is in the description, and we'll see you next time.